Hi students, welcome to another episode of Women of FHSS. Right now with us, we have Barb Mecham. Hi, Barb.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us today. Barb is one of our students here in the program and is going to talk to us a little bit about her journey and where she is. And so Barb, maybe the first thing that you could start off with is telling us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to.
Okay, so I'm a lot of woman. I am originally from Australia, but was raised in Canada and married my husband 21 years ago and moved down here 21 years ago. So it was a bit of a culture shock to move from out in the mission field to Mormon Mecca. But I've really enjoyed the challenges that has presented. So I am a mother of triplet daughters. That's right, 3 of them. So we had 3 girls a little bit later in life, and they have been just the best, most wonderful, magnificent thing that has ever happened to us, and we're so grateful for them. I always wanted to be a mother, and there was a time in my life when I thought it might not happen for me. And just as I was beginning to come to terms with that, the Costco fairy came and blessed us with triplets.
Amazing.
So when my girls were in school, I thought that I always knew that I wanted to go back to work, something to make just to help support the family and make our finances a little bit breathable, but also to help prepare for the future. But I didn't want to engage in anything that would take me too far out of the home and being at the crossroads of my girls' lives. And so I was drawn to teaching, and I thought I would like to be an elementary teacher. And so I volunteered to substitute teach in their elementary school. And after a few weeks of that, I thought, no, I don't want to be an elementary school teacher. That's not my thing. And so I kind of hummed and hawed for it. And by the time they hit like 5th grade, I was like, I really need to do something. I can't just waffle anymore. I really need to buckle down and do something. And I had looked into BYU and I looked into other things that I could do, maybe even starting a home business. But everything kind of fell into place, oddly enough, at one of their piano recitals. And I was sitting there in the piano teacher's home, and her husband happens to be one of the directors at the advisement center in the Wilkinson Center. And he said, you should totally go for it and I can help you. And that was in December. And by April, I was in class. Wow. And so I decided that because I love home economics and the home arts and everything about home, that's what I wanted to focus on. I wanted to teach kids how to make a wonderful, supportive, stable home life so that they could turn out wonderful, supportive families, right? And so that's what I threw myself into. And my first semester, I took, was it child development? And I did an online class, and I ordered my textbook. And I looked at the textbook and I thought, is this thing in English? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. And it took me about a good semester to kind of crawl out of mom brain. Just that, not that there's anything wrong with mom brain, but you just get so bogged down into the minutia of raising little children that your brain really doesn't get a chance to expand beyond that. And so once I got my feet wet in my first semester, then I kind of took off, and I just adored every minute of it.
That's amazing. So you and I talked last time about how much longer you have until you graduate.
How much
longer do you have until you graduate?
Yes, this is very exciting. So I'm in my 2nd placement for student teaching. So I'm teaching at a high school right now, and I will graduate in April.
Woohoo! That's awesome.
I'm so excited.
So you started this journey a long time ago, and then just over the course of time, things have just kind of whether or not they've fallen into place, but it's almost like this planned happenstance. Do you feel that that is true for you, or do you feel that you had to really be aggressive about your plan?
Um, you know what? It kind of felt like that plan was always there available for me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was ready and waiting for me. It was just waiting for me to be ready. Um, I wasn't ready when my girls were in first grade. And I don't think my girls were ready for that either. And once they were a little bit more independent and they were, just coming out of elementary school, that's when it seemed like it was the right time and just everything seemed to work out. I was able to get an application in, I got accepted, I was able to get the right classes and figure out my program relatively quickly. And it has been almost effortless in how it's all come together.
That's so amazing to me. The whole time that we've been talking, because we talked before this interview as well, but I couldn't help but think about the active part of the faith that you had in order to see this come to fruition so far for you. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? How has faith played an active role, and or can you talk about the active part of faith that you've had to explore in this journey?
Mm-hmm. So faith has played a pretty big role. I always have understood that Heavenly Father has a plan for me. And even though I don't know exactly what that plan is all the time, I know that there's something out there for me and I am meant for greater things. Um, and that was made manifest in how my BYU education just came together. That while I felt like I was being a successful mother and successful in the home, and I was really proud of what I was able to do at home, I wanted to extend that to an education system, like in a school system. And I had that impression that Heavenly Father wanted me to do that too. That and in my content area, I'm a family consumer sciences major, and I just time and time again it has been proven to me that all the ills in society can be cured with strengthening family. And all of the content of family consumer sciences helps to strengthen the family. And even though family consumer sciences is seen as kind of like this dinosaur of a content area that is not really needed anymore, I think that has really proven, especially during this pandemic, how untrue that is. I mean, what have we been doing for the last 12 months? We've been cooking at home. People have been making artisan bread. People have been sewing masks by the thousands. We have gone back to those home basics. And in that process of exploring um, our aptitude for those skills, it brings families together, whether we realize it or not. It does help strengthen families.
That's amazing. And I love the passion that you have for that. And it's interesting to me just listening to your story, how it almost had to grow, right? Like you had to go and figure out, like, nope, elementary education, not for me. And you probably experienced some other things in your life that allowed you to kind of do this process of elimination to find something that you
Yeah.
really care about. So, can you share with us maybe a little bit about that process of what you needed to grapple with at each stage as you kind of progressed through your education?
Right. I think it started with conference. So I remember a conference where President Hinckley was talking to the young women of the church, and he was talking about modesty and how he understood the difficulty of finding modest clothing in department stores for anyone. And he said, it is my deepest wish that young girls would learn how to sew. And that was the first spark. And then a few years later, there was a conference address by Sister Julie Beck, who was the General Relief Society president at the time. And she gave this talk about mothers who know and choosing things that are the best. That women, Latter-day Saint women, should be the best homemakers and the best child rearers, and because they are mothers who know. And that was another spark that went off. And then given the background that I've always had, that Heavenly Father had a plan for me, I knew that was the content area for me. Now, it didn't fall into my lap. It wasn't easy. I have spent many nights in many weeks up all night working on projects and working on um, papers and reading chapters and reading articles. And, I went to bed at 2:30 in the morning last night. And the night before I was up all night, and those things just happen. And that's part of the learning and growth process. And those things happen whether you are in education or whether you're just a businesswoman or a mother or any facet of life. You're going to have to make those sacrifices to get what you want. And this is what I really wanted, so I was willing to make those sacrifices.
That's amazing. And I think too that it's important for anyone who's listening to understand that these were sparks for you, right? Like not every person is going to get the spark to learn how to sew, and not every person is going to get the spark to learn how to, cook well or whatever, but this was your journey. And I think that sometimes especially when our amazing, beautiful women hear these things, they start to pile on all the things that they're not. And so I think it's important for listeners to understand, like, no, this is Barb's journey. Like, these were the things that helped her figure out and progress to something that works for her. Because maybe you can actually speak to that. And I didn't ask you this before, but is there something that maybe you could share with us that might help us get out of this shame culture, specifically, how you view other women who are working moms or working in general? Like, how do you support them in their personal revelation and results and pursuits?
You know what? It's a travesty when women judge and tear down other women because of the life choices they have made. We are all struggling. We are all doing the best we can with what we know. And I always think back to, we are all given a divine nature, and especially with women, whether they decide to pursue a career outside of the home or inside of the home, it doesn't matter. You have that God-given divine nature that entitles you to be successful and to have an impact on the world, no matter where you are. I always think of, in thinking about this topic, Sister Sherry Dew, she talked about, are we not all mothers? Whether we have children of our own body or children of someone else. And she said that, Eve was called the mother of all living, and she hadn't given birth to a single person. And that speaks not to the role as mother, but to our divine nature as women, not necessarily as the title of mother, right? And I think that divine nature can be displayed in all facets of life, whether you're in the boardroom or in a surgical theater, or whether you're in a classroom, or whether you're in your home. That divine nature, if you allow it, can shine through and propel you in your chosen path. And I think we need to give women a break and allow them to discover their own divine nature and how it applies in their present life circumstances.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So speaking of this role of mother, because it was something that you had been anticipating and it didn't quite happen the way that you thought it would, what do you find yourself thinking about in this balance of, well, and we talked about how we really don't believe in balance, but in this idea of being a mother and a student and everything else that you're trying to fulfill right now?
Right. It's challenging, and it's challenging for women who are trying to hold down a full-time job and pursue their career and be a student at the same time. There are sacrifices that have to be made to meet your goals. It is difficult for any woman to balance, home life, work life, school life. There have been many times when I've had to, step away from family movie night, or just being able to sit and talk with my girls after school, because I've had projects to do. And I'm so grateful that they have been very understanding and have been supportive of me doing that. But there really is no sense of balance, really. You're just spinning plates in the air and hoping that none of them fall off before you can catch it and it shatters to the ground, right? But I always say to myself, you just do the best you can with what you know, and you be like Dory. You just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
I love that analogy too of keeping the plates spinning, and then also the idea that some of them might fall.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's really important, especially for women, to understand that you're not going to be able to keep spinning all of these plates. There just might be some that stay up more than others, and figuring out what that's going to look like for you.
And I think we need to realize that they're supposed to fall. We're in this life to learn hard things. And part of those hard things are learning that sometimes you get a curveball and it hits you in the face. Sometimes the plates fall and break. Sometimes you have to drink the bitter cup, and just do it, get it over with, learn what you need to learn, and just keep swimming.
I love Dory, so I'll take her advice. So speaking of support, you and I talked about your children and your husband being really supportive while you've been figuring all of this out. So what other support, and maybe even elaborate on the support that you're getting from home?
So my husband has always been my cheerleader and encouraging me to go get an education and finish my education, even though I kind of stalled for a little while. He was never forceful. He just said, there are lots of opportunities out there. You need to just, take a look at them, kind of, process them and see, where you can fit in and how you can. He says, I would really love to see you, graduate with the degree that you've always wanted. And that was so calming for me, that there wasn't this pressure for me to finish my degree. And he saw the benefit of education just for the sake of education, not necessarily that it would lead to, something else. But he has supported me in so many ways. He's done the carpools, and I don't know how many takeout dinners my poor family has had to eat. And my husband has just said, don't worry about it. I know you've had a busy day. I'm going to take care of dinner tonight, which is like a huge load, right? Things like making sure the girls have everything they need at school, because before they could just call me from school at home and say, Mom, I forgot something. Can you bring it to me? And Mom's not at home anymore. And my husband has really stepped in and done that. But he's been that way since the very beginning. Since the girls were born, he has been the one that steps in and steps up. And I've never had to encourage him or ask him. That's just who he is. Wow. And my girls, it is a humbling experience to kneel in family prayer and have your daughter ask Heavenly Father to bless her mom, that she will be able to get all of her projects done and get all her work done, and that she will get straight A's. They've sacrificed a lot, and but they've never complained. And they have always, they ask me every day, Mom, what can I pray for you about today? Do you need help with school? Can I ask Heavenly Father to help you? And that has been incredible for me. And to see their growth spiritually and share their faith with me, and asking for help when I needed it in school. I can't see you now because I'm crying.
You're getting too, Barb. Stop it. As you were talking, I couldn't help but think about how when we are doing what we feel guided to do, that where the plates may be dropping, they're picked up by other people. And I don't know if you have seen that. It sounds to me like you've had a similar experiences that way, where you didn't know the kind of support that you needed until you needed it. And then it was there and it was readily available. And you think, how in the world is this happening? And to recognize that it's so divine.
It is. I think of that, what is that Japanese art where they take broken dishes and they line it with gold? and put it back together. You know, that's what happens when we drop our plates and they smash all over the place. You know, there's someone there through divine help or just people who observe and serve that pick up those pieces and, you know, fill them in with gold and put them back together again so you can spin them again. And that has come from my family. It has come from friends that have just sent me a text, you know, I'm thinking about you. I know you're student teaching and I know it's hard. Good luck. It has come from my, you know, my mother who lives up in Canada, and I just, you know, FaceTime her and, you know, do a, you know, stream of consciousness, you know, throw up on her about all the stress that's going on in my life. And, you know, and my sister the same way. And that has been very helpful in giving me the energy, I guess, to just keep on going. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for that testimony. Well, Barb, as we kind of wrap up a little bit, is there anything that you want to directly say to the women in our college, you know, whether they decide to pursue, you know, post-graduation opportunities, grad school, stay-at-home opportunities, part-time, full-time, like what would you say to maybe a younger you?
Don't be afraid of your womanhood. Don't be afraid to fully embrace it. Don't try and be somebody you're not. You know, when I was younger in high school, I thought, oh yeah, I want to be a high power corporate attorney and I want to take the business world by storm. And I want to be, you know, basically what I was saying to myself is I want to be a second class man. You know, that's not who I am. And that's not what I was built for. I want to be a first class woman. And to do that, you need to embrace womanhood. And that means embracing your nurturing side. It means embracing the softness and the peacemaker in you, embracing the ability for women to bring people together and negotiate and have everybody walk away happy. You know, women shine in that area. And I would say to my younger self and the women at BYU who are, you know, wondering what their next step is going to be, don't be afraid to step out. If you make a mistake, so what? We all make mistakes and there's time to fix it. But don't forget about your womanhood, embrace it and pursue your life's passion, your dreams. Just don't be concerned about what anybody else has to say because it's not anybody else's life but yours. And I always remember that Heavenly Father doesn't want me back the same way I left. He wants me to change. And we change by leaning in and embracing all the wonderful opportunities that are around us.
Thank you so much. And how that looks differently too, right? Like that approach is going to look different. And sometimes,
yeah, exactly.
You know, I think about, you know, the soft and peaceful thing that you are talking about. And I'm thinking, wow, those are things that I don't inherently have. I feel like I'm more, you know, in your face and whatever. And I think that there's space to explore what that looks like for you too, right? Like you're in a time right now where you can explore that. And I don't think that exploration goes away. I mean, there are different things that are going to lead out at different times in your life too, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
we all have strengths and we just need to use them and show people what our strengths are because we are a force for change. We are a force for accomplishing great things.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Barb. It's been so amazing talking to you. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your story.